Good morning, everybody. How are you? Today, I'd like to speak about social anxiety and panic attacks. I'd like to speak about a testimonial I received from one of my clients who was dealing with social anxiety, panic attacks, and was not able to drive her car anywhere. She had to be driven all over. This was a grown woman that used to be living by herself and used to be very independent. She came to me for different reasons, but this was the biggest reason. And when we started talking, I understood that she was dealing with much more than just that, and it stemmed from things that were further back than just right now what was happening, right? By the way, this is an amazing person in many ways, very creative and very authentic, and a very dear client of mine. So let's get to the story. So, what was going on with her? Well, just the thought of her getting into a car was giving her panic attacks. So she had to have people drive her all over, and it stopped her from living this independent life. She had to wait till somebody was able to drive her to places, and then she felt guilty because that they had to drive her to these places. So this is a story that, it keeps on going, right? So for a while she was working with counselors, and counselors have their way of dealing with things. And then that didn't really work for her, though. And then she went on to get prescription medication, and that didn't really work either. It brought her actually to a very dark place. So when she contacted me, she was like, Helene, I do not know how this is going to go. I do not know if this is going to work. I'm not even sure, anything works anymore. That's how far she had gone. She had come to a place where she was really doubting any of her abilities. And so through the method that I have been developing for over 30 years, we went in and we got to the core of the issue, because the core was not the last 1 or 2 years. The core was her childhood. Some of the things that had happened in her childhood that had made her believe in a certain way. And throughout her grown-up life, she had been trying to subconsciously, she had been trying to alleviate herself from those fears, but they kept creeping up, and in the end they were there, and they were just, so she had to get rid of her baggage. And what I do when I work with people like her is I go in and I act and I help her navigate through her life, navigate back to the core reason, the core belief, the core sensation, the core feeling. And once you do that, once you navigate back to the core, and you're able to release it, relieve it, then everything else that happens after that first initial time, everything else that happens after that actually releases and lets go. And so that you can open up to who you really are. So what we did with her, because she was constantly reminded of her issue, and she had to go to the bottom of it. So she went my program, which is called Hypno Health and Wealth. She went through that program, all 12 sessions. And when she was done, it was a completely different person. She completely transformed her life. So, there are a lot, and her anxieties and her panic attacks, and by the way, driving was easy for her in the end. I mean, it seems like a little thing, but when you get so scared that you can't even drive your own car and you can't become independent, and you feel that you're trapped inside of the home would become a prison almost, right? This is a relief. this is you getting your life back, right? She loved going to art places. She loves poetry and literature and writing and art and all this, right? So she was able to get back her life back. Can you imagine what a shift? And it was all because of old programming, old thought forms, old beliefs that were so centered in her system that she couldn't clear herself from it. And nothing that she had tried worked except for this. So it's kind of like a testimonial and a story, so that you understand or understand that there are people out there that go with all, that carry this kind of burden, that carry this kind of guilt, that carry this kind of shame, that carry this kind of fear. So he says all this all together, right? It's not just one thing. It expands over several different things that are, I mean, if you can think of the fact that she's having children, she can't drive her children anywhere, you know? And in case of an emergency, what would happen, right? How would she be able to take care of that? So today, yes, she's able to do that. She's able to do everything. And I really, really appreciate the fact that she came to me and she worked with me and she became herself again. That's all it is, really. Coming back to her power. So I'm here. If any of you feel that this is something you deal with, let's talk. Check the link below. Okay, over and out.